Good morning, children. So this lesson is for grade 8th and the topic is crop production and management. Okay, as we know that we have learned in our earlier classes, all the living organisms require food, and even the green plants will be able to synthesize their food. What about the animals, including the human beings? We will not be able to prepare our own food. In the sense, we will not be able to make our own food. So, where do these animals get the food from? First of all, let us talk about the food. Why do we eat the food? What is the necessity of eating the food? What does it give to your body? So, as we know that food is very essential for all the living organisms, including the animals. And this food will provide us energy. Energy is very much required to do all the various activities in our daily life. Or other sense, we can say that it performs the various functions in our body. Like example, as we know earlier, we have learned what is the process? Process of digestion, the process of absorption, or maybe the process of circulation as well as the excretion. All these are the processes which takes place once when the food is entered into the body. That is what we call the word energy as. Then, when we talk about the food, we know that there is a large number of people in this world. Otherwise, we can say a large population. When we are talking about the food, how to provide this food to a large population in this world? What is the other way to provide the food to such a large number of people in this world? The first one, we can say that regular production is very much important. And then the proper management. And finally, we can talk about the distribution. Yes, of course. We all know that in the olden days, or maybe long back years ago, people in groups were wandering from one place to another. Why? Because they were not getting the food. They had to wander for the food as well as for the shelter as well. They were eating the raw vegetables and even the raw meat. They were hunting the animals as well. Okay, fine. When we talk about this, they had to wander a lot. But later on, they started cultivating the land. Or they started cultivating the crop on the land or on a field. And this is how the term agriculture has come in existence. Or we can say that this is how the word agriculture has come from. Then, when we talk about the agriculture, the first and the foremost thing we have to understand the concept. What do you mean by a crop? Isn't it? So what is a crop now? Large number of plants. That is, many plants has to be grown in one place on a larger scale, and this process we call it as a crop. And what are the crops actually? One example, they started growing the wheat. For example, if wheat is grown, only the wheat has to be grown in a particular field. The plants of wheat only has to be grown on a particular field. Then, there are many other crops like what we are talking about, the cereals, the vegetables and the fruits as well. And then, when the farmer has to take care of the crops, or maybe starting with the cultivation of the crops, or maybe he has to think about the agricultural practices. What are the different things that he has to keep in his mind? That is nothing but he has to think about the season. It depends on the season. Like, what are the different seasons he has to take care? And when we talk about the season, it will not be the same in all the places. It varies from region to region. So what are we talking about this? Like maybe related to the rainfall, the humidity and the temperature as well. Okay. When we talk about the season, according to the seasons, depending on the temperature, depending on the humidity and the rainfall, the crops are classified into two types. The first one is the kharif crops and the second one is the rabi crop. So what is a kharif crop? The crops which are grown in the month of June and it goes on to the month of September. So what is the meaning of this actually? Which season exactly we are talking about? It is nothing but the crops which are grown only in the rainy season, we call it as a kharif crops. And what are those crops are we talking about? They are nothing but the paddy, the maize, the groundnuts and the cotton. All these crops are grown during the season, especially in the rainy season, and we call it as a kharif crops. The next concept, that is the rabi crop. What does this rabi crop is? In which season the farmer grows the crops? According to the season, when we talk about, we can say that the rabi crops are grown in the month of October and it follows up to the March. October to March. Okay, or otherwise we can say that the crops which are grown during the winter season, we call it as a rabi crops. Now what are those crops are we talking about? We can say that the wheat, the gram, the pea and the mustard. So all these particular crops are grown only in the winter season. So that is the difference we are talking about the kharif crops and the rabi crops. Okay, when we talk about the crop like wheat, do you think that the wheat can be grown only in the winter season? Or it can be grown in the winter season? No, absolutely it is not possible. Why? What is the reason the crop wheat cannot be grown in the winter season? Because it needs lots of water. It requires lots of water, and this wheat can be grown only in the rainy season. And then, when we talk maybe about the wheat or a paddy, it has to be grown only in the rainy season. And then, when we talk about all these crops, the farmer has to take care of the agricultural practices, or maybe he has to follow all the different steps accordingly. Before that, we can say, let us talk about a gardener. The garden, or maybe the person who takes care of the garden is called as a gardener. The gardener has to take care of his garden. And one more example we can say about the plants or the simple plants which we grow in our houses, which we take care in our houses, ornamental plants. Similarly, even the farmer has to take care accordingly, like a gardener or maybe the ornamental plants as we take care in our houses. In a similar manner, he has to follow the agricultural practices. And what are those agricultural practices? One example what we can say is the preparation of the soil. The first and the foremost thing, he has to take care of the soil. He has to see that is the soil prepared for the cultivation of the crops. And then the second is sowing. What is sowing? The sowing of the seed into the soil. And then adding the manures and the fertilizers. Yeah, it's a very important concept. He has to take care of the fertilizers as well as the manures. He has to apply the manures for the better yield of a crop, to get a good result, to make the plant very healthier, as well as the fertilizers. When we talk about the fertilizer, there are various fertilizers. We are very familiar with the most important one, which is called as the NPK fertilizer, nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium fertilizer. Along with this, he has to take care of the irrigation, talking something about the water facilities. Irrigation also plays a very important role in the field of agriculture. Then we can talk about protecting from the weeds. What is this protection from the weeds now? When you say there are good plants, there are some weeds which will be growing along with these crops. And the weeds are nothing but the unwanted plants which are growing along with the good plants. And that has to be taken out for the protection of the crop or a plant. Then the next one, the harvesting. Harvesting is the last stage in the field of agriculture. Harvesting the crop also plays a very important role here. Along with that, we can say that the storage. Finally, it comes to a storage. So, what are we talking about? That is, for the cultivation of the crops, all these steps are very much important for the farmers to take care of the crops in the field. So, today's lesson, or in today's topic, so we have learnt the term crop, and we have discussed the two types of crops, that is the kharif crops and the rabi crops. And we also have discussed why the farmers have to take care of all the crops in the field in the, what to say, like for example, I just told you that the cultivation of a crop depends on all these conditions. All these conditions has to be applied by a farmer to get a better yield of a crop. Thank you.